Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to all of you. First, let's start by giving Pat a big round of applause for coming up and sharing his story. And Abby, also, thank you very much, and thank you for what you do teaching our students. Let's give Abby a round of applause. To the great master of ceremonies for today, an outstanding lieutenant governor, a great public servant. He's been all over the state for 3 years. Nobody works harder or better than Lieutenant Governor Bob Duffy. Let's give him a round of applause. Our great controller, former member of the great New York State Legislature, Tom DiNapoli, pleasure to be with you. Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, who's doing a fantastic job for the state of New York. Pleasure to be with you, General. They were introduced already, but I can't overemphasize the cooperation, the partnership of the legislative leaders. We've had a great 3 years. It wouldn't have happened if these individuals didn't do what they did individually and work together the way they did. And as a personal point of privilege, I want to thank them for the kindness that they've shown me. Senate Leader Dean Skelos, Speaker Sheldon Silver, Independent Leader Jeff Klein. We're also pleased to be joined by Assembly Minority Leader Brian Kolb and Senate Minority Leader Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins. Pleasure to be with you. To the members of the court, Chief Judge, thank you. Members of the court, thank you very much for being with us, and thank you for your good service. To Governor David Paterson, number 55, let's give him another round of applause. Thank him for his good service. And again, Happy New Year to all of you. I think it's a year that is going to be a banner year for the state of New York, and that's what I'd like to speak to you about today, where we go in 2014. But there's an old saying that you don't really know where you're going until you know where you've been. And we should start this year with a look back when we first joined in this hall 3 years ago. The state of New York was in trouble. The New York State government was literally a joke at that time on late-night TV. It was about scandals, it was about indictments, it was about dysfunction. But even worse, this was not about a momentary lapse. These were fundamental structural problems that had been going on and growing for a long time and were now coming home to roost. It started with the simple fact that the state spent too much money. The state spent more money than the people in the state earned. And it did it not just for 1 or 2 years, but it literally did it for over 60 years. And if you spend a lot, then you're going to have to tax a lot. And we taxed a lot. And as a result, our taxes had become the highest in the nation. And we were paying a price for the high taxes. People and businesses were leaving the state. On top of that, for decades, Albany had become a poster child for gridlock. Long before Washington, D.C. put gridlock on the front pages, the story in Albany was gridlock. And it always happened at the time of the budget. Why? Because that's where the money is. And it was late. Over a 30-year period, 23 years, we had a late budget. Average late budget, 50 days. New York State had lost its way. We were spending more money, and we were actually getting less results for the people who we were supposed to be serving in the first place. Because the government had become more concerned with special interests and with their contributions than the people and their problems. And these governmental failures were not in an abstract, it wasn't just in a government course. They had real negative effects, and the people of the state were suffering. 852,000 people unemployed, the largest number since the Great Depression. Property taxes the highest in the country. Upstate New York was in free fall. We were on the precipice of an abyss. The state's future was hanging in the balance, literally. And the cynics and the naysayers said that we were too far gone, and there was no way we were going to turn the ship of state around. But we knew that fortune favors the bold, and that New Yorkers, if anyone, know how to beat the odds. And we set our sights high. We said we were going to restore economic opportunity to the state of New York. We said we were going to replace dysfunction with results, that we were going to put people before politics, and we were going to reestablish New York as the progressive leader of the nation once again. We stopped talking and we started doing. And in 3 years, my friends, you have reversed decades of decline and made dramatic and undeniable progress. For the first time in modern political history, the state has real fiscal discipline. We've held spending to 2%. For the first time in 40 years, spending is below the rate of inflation and below the rate of growth of personal income. And because we spent less, we could tax less, and we did. Every New Yorker pays less income taxes today than the day they did 3 years ago when we started this journey. We now have the lowest middle-class tax rate in over 60 years. And we don't just have lower tax rates. We have a fairer tax code. We went from a flat tax in the state of New York, where everyone paid the same income rate, regardless of how much income they earned, to a graduated rate, which is much more fair for the people of the state. After 20 years of trying, we passed the state's first property tax cap. And for the first time in 30 years, we broke the gridlock that had plagued Albany, and we passed 3 on-time budgets in a row. After years of false starts, we instituted a real teacher evaluation process that focuses on performance rather than merely growing the bureaucracy. After 30 years of talking, we passed casino gaming, which will bring a new economic future to parts of this state that have been suffering for too long. After decades of conflicts, we renewed our spirit of partnership with the Indian nations across this state. And let's take a moment to recognize the nation representative Ray Halbritter from the Oneida Nation of New York, Ron LaFrance of the St. Regis Mohawk, Beverly Cook of St. Regis Mohawk, and Michael Kimmelberg of the Seneca Nation. Thank you, and thank you for being with us today. Thank you. We said we would make New York safer, and we did. We passed common sense gun reform with the New York SAFE Act. We established an all-crimes DNA database. We enacted tough new texting while driving laws. We said we would make New York healthier, and we did. We provided health insurance to more than 265,000 New Yorkers through our health exchange, and it worked well. We said we would make New York cleaner, and we did, opening a $1 billion green bank, adding more money to the Environmental Protection Fund. We said we'd make New York smarter, and we did. We expanded full-day pre-K, incentivized performance through master teachers, and launched SUNY and CUNY 2020. We said we would make New York fairer, and we did. We raised the minimum wage, we closed juvenile justice facilities, we opened the Justice Center, and we passed marriage equality. The proof is in the pudding, and the arrows are pointing up. We've added 380,000 new private sector jobs since 2010. New York is now ranked number 2 in the nation in number of jobs created since the recession. And today, as we sit here, we have more private sector jobs in the state of New York than ever before in the history of the state of New York. Exports are up 15%. Our ratings are up from all 3 agencies at a time when the rating agencies are downgrading governments all across this country. All 3 rating agencies have a positive outlook for the state of New York. And because jobs and exports and our ratings are up, unemployment is down in every region of the state of New York. We have given New Yorkers a government that costs less, taxes less, and actually does more for the people who are in need. The progress is not just in the numbers. You can feel it in every region in our state. In the lower Hudson, they'll talk about the new New York Bridge that is rising after 20 years of talking. In Utica, they'll talk to you about the new future of nanotechnology. Even the 2 regions of the state that needed the most help 3 years ago, Western New York and the North Country, they are different places in just 3 years. Western New York is in the midst of an exciting transition. The Republic Steel plant that closed in 1984, which was the symbol of the low point of Buffalo, today is the same site where Riverbend is rising, a new R&D clean energy plant that's going to provide hundreds of jobs in Buffalo. There are even sightings in the Buffalo sky of a species long thought to be extinct in Buffalo. Cranes are flying once again in the Buffalo sky. Buffalo News editorial from this past New Year's Eve couldn't have said it any better. In Buffalo, for decades, the norm has been a glum acceptance that we live in a second-rate city with a fourth-rate economy, and that there was nothing to do about it but moan. Over the course of a year or so, the pall has lifted. Western New Yorkers started to regain confidence in their city and the direction in which it was headed. It qualifies as the story of the year, maybe the story of the decade. Congratulations to Mayor Byron Brown. Congratulations to County Executive Poland Kars, to Howard Zemsky, to Satish Tripathi, who have done great work. In the North Country, it's the same thing. The North Country was long ignored by Albany. But there is a new economic life. The Trudeau Institute is an emerging world-class biotech hub. There's going to be a new hotel in Saranac Lake. Bombardier's state-of-the-art rail car facility in Plattsburgh is going great guns. The North Country has a new future. And let's give them a round of applause for their turnaround. Three years ago, the Capitol was literally and figuratively crumbling. Today, it is shining brighter than it has in decades. You cut that ribbon on that new Capitol, and you should be proud. We did what we said we would do. And as elected officials, there's no statement that makes you prouder to say when you can look at the people of this state and say, we did what we said we would do. We changed the direction of this state for the better, and we have. Congratulations to all of you, and let's take a moment and recognize once again Senate Majority Coalition Leader Dean Skelos, Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver, and Senate Leader Jeff Klein. Please stand, gentlemen, so we can give you a round of applause.